those of you that knew JR, he'd probably be the guy that would come up here and say that the length of your slideshow is a factor of how big the check is. Or he might say a factor of how many miles you had to drive to get here to the museum. He would come up with something like that. But he was always one that would show me when we would get together the newsletter from the museum. And he loved just reading through just all the benefactors. And I think he thought to himself, someday I want to present a check. I want to present something to this museum. It meant a lot to him. So I'm really excited to share this with this organization, which meant so much to my dad. Just a real quick kind of anecdote. We're still trying to figure out what JRPX means. There's the Reverend, the preacher, and all of this, and of course, to me, he was always his dad, right? And to Lisa. But one thing I always knew about my dad was that he was a self-proclaimed expert about things. Whether it was trains or cars, eventually it was wine. Like he took one trip to Spain and all of a sudden he was a connoisseur, right? So I never got to order the wine when we would go. I'm like, that's cool. My dad knows a lot about wine now. But I also kind of think that's a wonderful thing about him is that looking back, whenever he and I would have those infrequent but very long phone conversations, he would fill my ear with everything he knew about subject A, B, C, D. I don't know if any of you were familiar with that aspect of my dad. Getting together with people that were a part of my dad's life is really cool for us because it's almost like we're touching a part of his life that maybe we weren't as close to, so it's kind of bringing us a little bit closer to my dad that way. So again, it's great to be here and to present this check. My dad graciously donated $100,000 from his estate to Mid-Continent. So it's our privilege and pleasure to present this.
There we go. Stand in the middle.
All right.
All right.
So I'm sure you got to see me and my family. I know that we're very thankful for all of you because you were like a second family to my dad, and we obviously relocated to Minnesota due to needing to have jobs after we graduated college. So having this as kind of a halfway point for him meant a lot because it really helped to cement relationships with his grandchildren, who also shares a passion and love for all things train. And it would be fun to have him come after spending time with you guys here and having my oldest son, who knows a lot about trains just like his grandfather, and to be able to actually teach him a thing or two. So it was quite the sight to be able to witness their conversations from time to time where Alex knew more than Grandpa about a particular train or a line. So I think it runs in the family but might have skipped a generation. But thank you from the bottom of our hearts because you really are like brothers and sisters to him. And even in his last days when it got tough for us and we had to be with him, just to be walking into his little apartment and to hear him have you guys on speakerphone and to talk to you was a comfort to us to know that we weren't in it alone. We were all kind of in it together. So darn COVID. Yeah. And it's too bad that, I know some of you maybe would have wanted to have come to his service, and too bad that we weren't able to share with you a little bit about some of the things that a good friend of his spoke at his service and said that I'm sure you may have recalled the city of Milwaukee photos. He got to be an instrumental part of moving that ship because the state of Michigan was going to take possession of it, and at the last hour, because of his connections, he was able to get a tugboat in there and last minute called everybody together and got it down there. He ended up, we were told, saving several people's lives in the pilot house on that boat coming down the channel in Manistee, the propane they were using at the end of January to keep themselves warm, it caught on fire, and he just happened to be coming up deck at that point and saw it and went right into action, we were told, and threw it overboard, and as he threw the propane tank overboard, it exploded. So had he have not done that, there would have been 6 people that probably would have died in that incident. So again, we really appreciate all the stories that you guys come with and the time that you've had with them. So again, thank you so much. It's been meaningful for us.
Thank you.